So first, thank you very much for both of your presentations. Mr. Taylor, you're an evangelist from the West. Let me start off with a question, if I could. You had beautiful pictures of fresh fruit and vegetables, and you came in with, you said, a multi-million-dollar deficit on a centralized kitchen. How much operational issues, how much differences are there in offering the colorful, fresh fruit and vegetable approach to the traditional preparation of a meal in a centralized kitchen? How much transition effort is there in a school nutrition program to make that transition?
It's tremendous effort. Probably more than anything else, you have to change a culture. And quite often in school food service, what you find today is heat and serve, where employees are basically taught to cut open boxes and put frozen food on a pan and stick it in the oven. And we were asking them to now peel carrots, you know, when they were accustomed to buying carrots that were already processed and cut julienne style. We said, no, we wanted you to do that. That's the love that we give to our children, that the food is fresh. So I like to think more than anything else, what we had to do is change a culture, and that's not easy to do. There's a saying that if you want to make enemies, try to change something. I've got a few enemies.
Well, let me follow that line of thought just for the sake of, and you're in a safe zone here. We don't webcast to the West Coast, so.
We have your back. Yeah.
You know, what were the biggest, challenges? You were changing a whole system. I mean, how long did it take? What approaches did you find that worked? What approaches did you find did not work?
Well, the challenge that I saw in school food service, I spent most of my time in the private industry, and coming to school food service was quite eye-opening because everyone thinks that they know your job better than you. You know, the janitor's telling you how to do it better. I wasn't used to that, and the perception is really bad. Many of you in this room have very poor perceptions of school food service, and I actually enjoyed working in school and enjoyed this sense of purpose that I had working for children. And so how do you change those perceptions? And you change perceptions by changing the food first and foremost. And the marketing and outreach and everything else is possible. Spending a lot of time with unions and with your workers, because believe me, there are those that believe that the way we always did things still worked, you know, and I'd have to remind them that, you know, to get $3 million in the hole, there's a good reason that I'm here, and that we needed to change the way we behaved. Otherwise, people would lose jobs. Yeah.
Ms. Hinkle, you are a leader, but you have beside you kind of a local leader that you have supported many across other communities and programs. What are the characteristics of that leadership that you see that are necessary for a successful after school, within school, summer-based program?
Great question. I think it's that passion, and also being grounded in the community and the lives of the youth that we work with. I think that I truly believe that it's harder to find someone who knows how to work with young people than it is to teach them about healthy eating and fitness. So we always strive to find the groups and the people who really have that connection with young people, and then work with them to give them the skills about eating and fitness.
So I'm leading down a path. I mean, our standing committee has utilized research that was available, but also lamented research that was not. And I think a major gap area is probably our ability to assess leadership presence and actually track it. How would you encourage the research community to think about measurement of leadership in these programs?
I like you throw these hardball questions, huh? I think that part of it right now is really looking to young people as leaders. And because I think that we have an opportunity to grow some leaders. And so if there are things that we can be doing now to track young people in programs who have been exposed to some of these, of these issues, and give them some support to develop their leadership, and then see what happens and follow them.
You know, in California, I belong to a program under the California Department of Education Ambassador Program, and what we do is go around the state and we teach about how we did some of these techniques that have changed school food service. And there's food service directors from small districts, large districts, rural districts. There's something for everyone. And in addition to that, we're mentoring other young food service professionals that are coming in. In addition to that, we are developing recipes with nutritional analysis and production records, so that a small school district where the food service director might be a bus driver as well can have access to the type of resources that I have in a much larger school district. I think the beauty of what we have to look forward to are the young people that I meet in internship programs are very idealistic. They want to change the world. Money is not what motivates them. It's that sense of purpose. And that's what I try to instill in them, that have passion about what you do. Make sure that whatever you do, that's what lights your fire in the morning, you know. And if you do, you're going to have a good time.
Mr. Taylor, I saw a difference between how you approach the third graders and how you approach the high schoolers. Could you share with us I can see the third grade working. I'm having a little hard time thinking about Little Rock Central High, where my kids went, having the high school work in the same way. What were your challenges with the upper grades?
The upper grades really are like, to be college, I spent 17 years at university for the students that lived on campus running the dining hall. And you really have to approach it much the same way. It's a very sophisticated group that wants what it wants, and so we're looking at ways of introducing new items to them, that the chef has used his culinary skills to change, if you will, the feel of school food service. We went into schools and took out railings. You know, we have these rails like cattle to keep kids in line. And we told principals, let's get that out of there and let's treat them like they're human beings. They won't kill each other. And, you know, we put themes over the windows, Taste of Italy, south of the border, and we made sure the food was not frozen burritos, but ones we made up. And so it was appealing to the different ethnicities, making sure that your food is culturally appropriate, but more importantly, changing the ambiance. And believe me, we use that word, ambiance, in dining. These are perceptions that when you come into Riverside, we like to think that you understand that school food service is changing, and it's changing across the country, not just in Riverside.
You know, two of the things that Rodney mentioned too was that he doesn't promote health, but taste, and I think that's a really important. And also he engages youth in that process, and I think that is critical.
In your comments, Arnell, you mentioned some of the heterogeneity, or actually the low bar on active physical activity programs after schools, and I think, do you see avenues that we could take to raise that bar in your after-school programs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that training and skill development is key. There are a lot of good programs out there, but because of financing, the programs aren't exposed to them. And then also the partnerships with the community can help to raise that bar. Some of the exciting things that I see happening are like Zumba instructors and yoga instructors and others are coming into after school, and being in the after school is their kind of community out of service, so that there's a range of activities for youth who might not be competitive or be good at sports, but can do something else.
And speaking of that, are you seeing a growth in kind of life skill development as opposed to competitive sports, or is that still a challenge that we have?
It's still a challenge. It's still a challenge. The go-to is still the competitive sport. I think that people are aware that it needs to change, but it's not quite happening yet. And one of the things with the California physical activity, the after-school physical activity guidelines, is that they are still voluntary, not mandatory, and so there's a move to try to win the hearts and minds of the after-school community, so that they can see that this is a good thing and not a punitive thing for them.
Rodney, you have really taken a safety net food program that had guardrails to get people through it into more of a client-oriented restaurant style, and I want to explore the business model with you, because you have more than doubled or 5 times your revenue stream with a successful business model. How could we extend that to other areas? How did you do it within the area that you were challenged with?
What we did in Riverside, it could be done in any school district. I would guarantee you, if you went back to your school district and asked your director, what's the percentage of kids we're feeding? That's a great indication of what kids think about the food. And although there are some nuances that a more affluent district is going to be low. That's a tough school district to work. But in your more needier school districts, the percentage of kids you're feeding is a good indicator of how well you're doing. And if you want to change that, then you need to engage your customer. And that's, our students are our customer. Our staff is our customer. We developed an adult eating program where teachers could call in, could text, could email, and if they did it by 9 o'clock, we would deliver the lunch to any one of 51 locations by 11:30. That product was made the same day. The employee said, Rodney, we can't do that. I said, no, not under the current model. And that's the thing. Quite often, we keep trying to put things in this box. We're trying to be innovative. You need to change the organization. And so quite often what we did is looked at what did we want to be when we grew up? And then we changed the organization in a way that it fit that model, so that the chef, we had him do catering. For example, we were doing $50,000 a year in catering when we hired the chef. We'll exceed $200,000 this year. He does all the catering for the mayor's office. We do weddings. We don't turn down anything. So the ideal is that if it becomes too much for us in one shift, our operation is designed, we could run 24-hour shifts. So we provide meals for 15 non-school district entities. We provide meals for the Meals on Wheels program. The local university wanted to buy larger sums of food, but they couldn't store it, so they bring it into our district, and then we would distribute it to their 5 centers. Right. It's that kind of thinking. It's just, how do we grow our business?
And Arnell, in your community work, after school, summers, other programs, what examples do you have of that successful business application? What's driving people to go into this to maybe help solve some of the $8 an hour challenges that you have on getting staff? Is there a business model that we can think about on the after-school summer programs that would work?
Well, I mean, there is probably people have heard of it. Revolution of Foods that does the meal part of it. That's a successful business that is doing, whole grains, fresh foods, no preservative for programs. On the after-school part, there is a very successful program in Southern Cal called Think Together. That's a business, a model. And I think that you have to look carefully at them, though, because sometimes it's bigger, it's better, it's more efficient, but you have to see what's happening in those communities too.
Right. Any last comments that you would like to make, either of you?
Just, you asked the question about the after school, and I think of all the partnerships and collaborations and the non-traditional partners. There's no comprehensive sequential nutrition education program out there. And so you have to rely on your partners, whether it be those in academia or the public health department, the hospitals and medical foundations. The list of partners that we have are just unending. They bring the expertise that we do not have. Although I have 2 dietitians and a chef on staff, to be really progressive, you're constantly trying to build these relationships, looking for grant funding, and just looking at your organization and say, how do you get better at what you do?
Well, let me thank you and commend you for your success. Also commend you for the work that you're doing on the front lines and everything. Let me ask the audience to thank, and we'll close out this session.